It's very unlikely that Cyberpunk 2077 will be a bad game. The question is, will it be so good that it will match the hype around it?
Feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
Hi, my name is Szymon Adamus and these are the amazing games. Hype is the media noise, the publicity, the excitement of the audience waiting for the product. It's also the hopes of the creators and a chance to sell something so perfectly that it will secure the financial future of company for the next years and many new projects. The problem with hype is that sometimes there is too much of it. Do you know Segway? Those funny two-wheeled electric scooters you see in shopping malls or on organized trips? And do you know that it was one of the most overhyped products ever? The product of Dean Kamen, an American inventor who before Segway had already had great achievements in producing innovative infusion pumps or wheelchairs that allowed to move on any terrain, was so overhyped that there were truly absurd statements about it. The project, known then as Ginger, was shrouded in mystery first and finally became a legend. John Doerr said that Ginger would be more important than the internet, and Steve Jobs said that it was to be as important as personal computers and that the cities of the future will be designed around this invention. The journalist of course picked up on these juicy quotes because they also love the hype. The money comes with it. In the case of Dean Kamen, tens of millions of dollars have been raised to design, produce and sell the mysterious Ginger project. After the premiere, the air from this balloon went down with quite a squeak. Interestingly, not at all because the Segway was a bad device. On the contrary, an electric scooter with a range of 12 miles, which can drive at speeds ranging from a few up to several dozen miles per hour, can move on different surfaces, recover energy during downhill descents and braking, has a load capacity of almost 330 pounds and is so intuitive to use that it requires almost no learning. Even today, such a device is sensational. In the 2001, in many respects, it was ahead of its time. Besides the lifespan of the batteries, Segway's problems were not technical. It was the price of an absurd $3,000 for the commercial version, and the fact that the expectations for the Ginger project were so high that nothing, absolutely nothing real could match them. Hey dear gamers, sound familiar?
Cyberpunk.
Do you remember the first teaser of Cyberpunk 2077? The one that started the hype? Apart from the title reveal, it is the oldest video on Cyberpunk's YouTube channel. It was released on January 10th, 2013 and ended with the text "Coming when it's ready." Since then, the video was watched more than 20 million times, the channel has collected nearly 1.5 million subscribers, and in the last year its popularity understandably has been growing steadily. But this is obviously nothing compared to the popularity of the title on the internet. Google Trends clearly shows that the phrase Cyberpunk 2077 from a practical non-existence has risen to the great heights of popularity. Google is currently showing more than 48 million results on it. Thousands of articles have already been written about the game, there are figurines and gadgets in the stores, and also comic books, compendiums about the world, and even a coloring book if you would like to add some colors to Keanu Reeves. Nvidia on its website boasts that the game has already received over 100 awards, and indeed the title already has awards for graphics, innovation and animation. All of this before the release, when none of the journalists have seen the whole game yet, and every person outside CD Projekt Red experienced it on base of limited access and incomplete product. Leaving aside the issue of journalists' integrity who by building such a hype around the title become in a sense more of a salesman than a critic, one has to ask a question. Is the game able to live up to the expectations? Would any product be able to do that? In the world of games, we've already had many examples of how overhyped marketing can do more harm than good to the game. The most significant case in the recent years was the game No Man's Sky. The title is extremely interesting, technically impressive, but at the same time so completely overhyped that on the day of its release it turned out to be a disappointment for many players. What's interesting is that all the participants of this hype fun are to blame. Sony started it at E3 in 2014 2014, showing absolutely incredible, yet far from actual game experience trailer of the game. Later on, Sean Murray from Hello Games, producer of No Man's Sky, added his 3 cents. In interviews and presentations, he at best exaggerated a little bit about the game and at worst lied. All the above was broadcast, of course, by the journalist because the subject was crazy popular, everyone wanted to know more about it, so they clicked everything that had No Man's Sky in the title. At the very end there were players. Some of them said that maybe some of the announcements and promises were just marketing, but their voices were drowned by thousands more full of excitement, without any rational or objective thinking, in short, in a hype. Of course, the final product was not able to live up to expectations. In the press reviews, the game did not get the brilliant but also not the worst scores, but players crushed it. Interestingly, after further updates, 4 years later, the game is much better. Its new version will even be released on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. However, on the launch day, it couldn't meet the expectations. It even caused irrational aggression in some players, which should have never happened. In an interview with Guardian's Sean Murray recalls the threats that he received after the game's release. I remember getting a death threats about the fact that there were butterflies in our original trailer, and you could see them as you walked past them, but there weren't any butterflies in the launched game. I remember thinking to myself, maybe when you're sending a death threat about butterflies in a game, you might be the bad guy. By the way, after the last postponement of Cyberpunk 2077, the CD Projekt Red team also received death threats. But this is a topic for another video. Coming back to the hype. From the marketing point of view, hype for new product is obviously desirable. Perhaps today even more than before because the whole market is changing before our eyes. In 2014, Marcus Wolsen wrote on Wired about the problem that Apple and Amazon have in the context of customers who no longer want to buy things but want to rent them. VOD services give us uninterrupted access to thousands of films and TV shows. Their music counterparts offer an almost unlimited library of music. The subscription model has also come to life in the world of video games, books, and software. It's very good news for companies living off such a commercial model, but very bad for those who would like to sell their products in a traditional way. So today, when the hype train is leaving, nobody thinks about slowing it down. On the contrary, marketing professionals throw in as much coal as possible. Whether it's No Man's Sky, the Fire Festival, the new generation of consoles, the artist's fresh music video, or Cyberpunk 2077. In the video about not finishing games, I mentioned that there are currently over 37,000 games on Steam, and over 20 more appear every day. Content creators, be it games, films, TV shows, music, books, and so on, must now compete not only with their direct rivals, but with all the popular forms of relaxing, because they fight mainly for our attention and time. In such a market, the mentioned hype train must be as fast as possible. Its momentum depends on whether the product will be successful or not. Taking all of this into account, I can answer the question whether Cyberpunk 2077 will meet the expectations. No, there is no chance for that. Not because it will be a bad game. I'm convinced that the money invested in it, the years of work and the talents of the people who work on it must result in a good game, perhaps even great one. However, Cyberpunk will not fully meet the expectations built around it because these expectations are simply unrealistic. With a bar set so high, a few bugs, a few weaker sequences in the game, some worse quests or simply design decisions other than the player expected are enough to make him feel disappointed. And that's the point of it all. Hype in the hands of marketers became a tool that can easily get out of control. These examples and hundreds of others show it clearly. We have no way of knowing or controlling what producers will say, but we should be aware that they are unlikely to talk negatively or calmly about their product. Today it is done differently. Today everyone wants the hype to be over 9,000. All we can do is to control our own reactions, mainly remembering that while getting on hype train can be a pleasant and engaging experience, keeping common sense and realistic expectation of the products prevent us from disappointment. To put it in another way, it is not a matter of not being hyped by Cyberpunk 2077. I am myself and I can't wait for the premiere. It's all about getting excited on your own terms and not the people who direct and build our excitement for a very specific sale purposes. Thanks for visiting my channel. Let me know in the comments if you are waiting for Cyberpunk and how much hyped about it are you. Meanwhile, take care, you wonderful people. Bye.